All right, we'll be kicking this off. We do have a lot to go over today. It'll have a certain speed, and before we get to that speed, I'll let you know, you guys are already past the rest of the day. We're talking a lot today about compliance and our responsibilities. And since you guys are all showing up, you guys are the best. I want you to go and find out who's not here and tell them, because we're being recorded, that they can get the fun and excitement of the day. Welcome. My name's Anita. And here we are at springtime in Boston. You know, I know everyone was this morning looking at their computer saying, come on, go. Very next boss. We'll start it off with Theresa from Metro, and
Thank you. Just in case you're wondering, Mary is alive and well. She just is somewhere tropical, probably enjoying a drink that has umbrellas in it. So I'm going to step in her place. I'm new to Metro. I joined last year. I'm from California, Southern California. I know. I moved here last year. And so everybody's getting a kick out of me experiencing winter for the first time in my life, ever. And at the credit union, they get a kick out of me running in and saying, there's no place besides the just outside. Should we be concerned? You know, what's the white stuff on my car? I don't understand. And but I find it funny that my team makes fun of the way I talk. I said one day we were going over the Tobin Bridge, and my BDO said, I need to get over. And I said, use your turn indicator then. And she's like, my what? So we went through kind of a Laurel and Hardy moment, and I finally said, the stick next to your steering wheel that goes up and down, saying left or right, and she's like, my Belinga? So I'll get used to it. All right, so just some quick updates for you. We wanted to tell you what our commitment to the state is. You've got Mary as a dedicated business development officer, and we're adding to our resources with Marcy, who's with me today. So she'll be joining Mary in the state to make sure that we can provide that excellent service to you all. We want you to remember that once a member, always a member with the state retirees. We have the transition loan should they need a kind of a bridge loan between when they retire and that first check. And then financial education, that is a focus for the credit union in educating our membership. And so we've got the Money Sense platform on our website, and there's a link to it on the state page, and I'll show you a little later. But they're modules that one can go into and individually do financial education, and it goes down to little ones. So from grade school up to, I think the millennials call us adulting. We're adulting, so all walks of life, all levels. So this is something that I get super geeked out about. It's our Credit Sense app, and it's on our mobile app. So this allows our members to go in and any time of day or night, check their credit score. And as you will see along the top, it's got the A through whatever. When you go and press on those letters, it tells you the reason why you're getting that score. So if we go to, say, that percentage of accounts in good standing, so, there's an A for that, but why do I have a B? Because credit utilization is over 30%. So basically, I have taken out more than 30% of what I could potentially do in credit tech. So the scoring is going to be a little bit lower. So as you go through, I think it's really cool. I get excited about this, you guys. I don't know. But the fact that we can put that in our members' hands to do at any point. It also shows you, as far as, the reasons why you have, built your credit history, and then it also goes into, in the end, any offers you may be eligible for. So if your auto loan or maybe your credit cards are, and it says we may be able to offer you, a better interest rate. The scoring is not going to affect your credit score. So each time you access that, it doesn't do a credit hit on it. It's a soft inquiry. And then, keeping in line, the theme for today is about financial education. So we do have credit builder loans for those that are looking to build their credit. I love this one. You put the money in a savings account and you pay yourself back over time. You report it to the credit bureaus. You're building a score at that point. And once the loan is paid, you have a savings account with that money inside of it and total access to it. Mary is always busy doing lunch and learns across the state. So for any of you that would like to book one, if you haven't already, we've got a great selection of topics, from mortgage to debt management. And you can just reach out to Mary at any time and we can set those in advance and we will bring lunch to the group for free. We are offering scholarships for high school seniors. Upcoming details will be on the website. In short, it's going to be within our branch communities, $1,000 scholarships. And those details will be on the website. And just to highlight the website, I'm sure you're all familiar. We've got the button down below that you can press on and you go in for more details to the state, any deals that are happening special to state employees. And as you can see, the Money Sends link is right there that you just press on, and it takes you straight into those modules. We're also going to be doing some incentives for those that participate in the modules so we can get more engagement in that. And that was my down and dirty. So I hear that we do a raffle, right? So we draw a name, and then I'm supposed to have a raffle question, okay. Marcy? I swear I'm nice to her, so I don't think she's quit this soon. Oh, she is. Two more, so we're going to shake it really good. He's drawing. Oh, yeah. If I could be the most hated in the room for those that don't win. You got to shake it. You got to. All right. So, Catherine, I should have my glasses on. You have young eyes. This does. Oh. Do you have to bring the gift cards in? Okay, we'll bring that to you, Catherine. And we have, this is worse.
I think that is Ian.
Ion? Okay, we've got the gift cards at the table. We will give those to you. And last, in the room, I'm not going to try it. Sorry, Kevin. Diana?
All right. Look for OSC.
All right, if you want to stop by on your way out, we'll hand you the $25 gift card, and then we have for online, right? Okay. I do. I've got a trivia question. So I thought, being a native Californian and Southern Californian in, I believe, our greatest export is the Kardashians and the Real Housewives franchise. My apologies. So we have a two-time governor, Jerry Brown, was back in the 70s, and he's back again. So back in the day, he was keeping with the trivia of Southern California and Hollywood and such. He dated a famous rock star. Who was that rock star? Singer.
On the webcast.
On the webcast. There.
Linda Ronstadt?
Yep, Linda Ronstadt.
Okay.
Very good. All right.
Helen, okay. Okay, that's great.
Got it. Okay, thank you very much, and we'll be outside if you have any questions later.
That'd be nicely done. But you do know, right, they have access to Google when you ask the question. All right, up next is the Smart Plan with Bob Young.
Today was Technology Day. It was on all our fun website gadget screens today, but next time. And also today was Compliance Day. Talk about compliance in a minute. But responsibility, what's your responsibility? Everyone, save money and retire tomorrow, right? Everyone's ready to retire tomorrow? Heard from a couple of you you're retiring tomorrow. Some new people to train coming up soon, from what I hear. But in all seriousness, your other responsibility is to help all your employees retire tomorrow. So we appreciate your help. We appreciate all of your assistance, spreading the word about the Smart Planning, helping us with our meetings, what we all do together each and every day. So a couple things today. I want to talk about online enrollment. We have the limits and a little bit more about refunds, and hopefully we can put that to rest for a few months. So I know you can't see this, and I can't see it either, and Kevin can't see it either, but this is our online enrollment flyer. It's called the Plan Enrollment Code Flyer, and it is on our website in our Plan Service Center under the Form section. So if someone wants to enroll online, they need this form. This form will give them a code, which is the second number down after the number and number. They also need your division number. Really important. If someone wants to enroll that's not with one of our advisors, not talking to us on the phone, they need the division number from all of you, which is on the top of your don't know it.
Someone call. Let me remute the phone.
So, we have a couple, the reason I didn't hand this flyer.
All guests have been muted.
So, we have a couple minor adjustments we're making to the process. That's why we're not fully rolling this out yet and haven't fully communicated out to all of you. We hope that will be done shortly, but the primary one is an upgrade we're doing in April to the search function, so that if they do go home and they want to enroll on a Saturday night and they want to look up, DCAM or Comptroller or something with a really long name, that they can find it pretty easily. Right now, you got to scroll through 1,100, 1,200 names. So we're not really advertising this yet, but I wanted to make sure, since today is the day to talk to all of you, that this is coming soon. Once they get this flyer, once they go on and register, it's very, very, very easy to enroll. So we're really excited about this. Really gives people an easier opportunity to get started in the plan. Limits, we handed out the green flyer, how much can I contribute? I think I mentioned to you last time, they did go up $500 for everyone, so we're $18,500 for the entire population, and then $24,500 if you're born in 1968 or earlier, and then the special catch-up is now $37,000, which you all know is just double that $18,500. So everything's built into your system. You don't have to do anything, but it's important for you to know. Hopefully post that up on YouTube or on a wall somewhere so everybody knows the limits. We also handed out your new guide. We did not have these last time, so these hopefully will be helpful to all of you in your queue. But again, the new limits are underneath. Once you open it up, with a lot of instructions about how to put in the special catch-up or what the notification looks like. So please pay attention to this if you're not comfortable with it, or you're somewhat newer and you're not really aware of the special catch-up and how that works in your system. But of course, we're here to help you. We want to help you with anything that you need, especially questions around catch-up and eligibility. So on that note, refunds, well, like I said, we're hopefully wrapping this up in the next couple weeks. If you do see something, or you have a question, or you do have a refund coming up at any time during the year, we have a very streamlined process where you go through Jane Waldron in the Treasury to notify us, and then the check comes through them to you, and then you put it back into somebody's check. If they don't, if they're already gone and we need to do a refund, we still need to notify Jane as well. So if you have any questions, you need that old memo that I've circulated a few times, we can get that out to you as well. So, top 5 reasons for a refund. Why would we have to do a refund if HRC must work so well and we don't have any issues? Why? And we do appreciate your help, and we do realize that the amount of people you work with and the amount of refunds we do with state participants is very, very low compared to the non-state participants that we work with the cities and towns and districts and authorities. So we greatly appreciate what you do. So with all of you, some of the reasons that we have to do a refund, you may have entered the adjustment amount at a higher level than it should have been, and we recognize that that's a limitation or challenge with the system, that you don't put $37,000 in, you put $18,500 in. And sometimes people put $37,000 in, that raises the cap, and they go over by a couple bucks. So be careful with that when you enter in that adjustment amount. Second, which you can't really have much control over, if any of your employees has an OBRA account outside, OBRA is $457, just as the full-time voluntary is $457, they need to be combined. So if one of your people works, I don't know, teaches a class, who teaches a class at a local high school, or picks up trash at the town, works for an authority, they may have an OBRA account that you're not aware of. There's not very many of them, but I'm not sure if it's for the number 2 reason or 4 or 5 reason, but it is something that we run into periodically. Occasionally we do have OBRA accounts where they shouldn't have an OBRA account, and we appreciate your help with that as well. If a state employee comes to work for you part-time, a UMass employee comes to work for you part-time, you do not have to take OBRA out if they're part of the state retirement system. So if you have any questions about that, please let us know. We run into that mostly with colleges and universities, but it does happen at some of the other locations, like the fire academy and so on. Over age 70 and a half. Now this one's tricky. It could be a little bit younger than that, but please make sure that we notify you that they're eligible before you enter them into the savings management system. There is an age restriction on doing special catch-up. I'm not sure why, but I think it has something to do with the government wanting their taxes. But if you reach 70 and a half, you can't use the special catch-up, and we do about 5 or 6 refunds every year because of that, mostly with unused sick and vacation.
There's a question from the webcast. If they want OBRA, can they have it?
If they want OBRA, can they have it? Maybe. That's an interesting question. What location is that?
Kelly, doesn't say that. CDA.
We'll get back to you on that. If she could give you.
Okay.
Number 4, the sick and vacation was deferred without authorization. This is the most common thing. It was not necessarily that they're not eligible. That's just we haven't followed the proper steps to do the deferral, that large deferral. So we talked about this before. Either make sure they're on the file, or you have something in writing from us, either Carla or the advisor, saying they're eligible before you do that deferral. Especially with the unused sick and vacation, everybody's in a hurry. They want to get out. I'm eligible. I just take it out of my check. I don't want to get taxed on this. Just do it. I realize you're rushed, but we still need that paperwork. We need that worksheet, or eventually we're going to send the money back to them. So we need to follow the proper procedure. And then the last is very infrequent, maybe once a year. We be careful with when you enter them in savings management. You only do it for 3 years, not more than that. And that the cap's still set when they come out of it, and make sure that they don't get it longer than they should. That's it for me today. Right. Great question, and thank you for bringing up the active choice again. We're really super excited. We've had, I believe, over 200 new participants so far this year. Actually, through February, there's probably closer to 300 so far this year using the active choice, which you all are helping us with. And again, that's the form that follows the State Retirement Board's application, where they can enroll directly into the SMART plan right at higher. There's a lot of default in that form. The default investment is the target date funds, the SMART Path funds. So it depends on their age. We will default them into the date closest to what the year will be at age 65. So if you're 25 years old, it would be the target date for 40 years in the future. I'm not sure what we're doing. We split the difference exactly, but Carly, it's 2.5 years away. And if they do not have a beneficiary, so please include that in your conversation with them. So we want to make sure they fill out a beneficiary form with that form to make sure that that gets into the account. Yeah.
I actually have 2 questions. So for the new online enrollment form, should we be now incorporating that into like our new time packet?
Let me get out to you all on that. Not quite yet. Hopefully within the next week or so. We're gonna notify. Where do you work?
I work at the
Okay. We will make sure we notify you all. But not continue the second question.
Yeah. So as far as the sick and vacation deferral, the form that we've been using, that you've always been told that it doesn't need to go to
Great question.
to Great West, and that the employee just fills it out. It's retained at the payroll office, and then we go through the process.
Great question. There's 2 forms. Okay. The question was, the form we use to defer on your sick and vacation, she asked, we've always been told that doesn't need to come to us. That's correct. I'm sorry. I forget what the final question was, but what's the deal with the forms? There's 2 forms. There's the salary defer, what's it called again? Paycheck election form, and that's the form you all get. That's the one saying, here's who I am, this is how much I want to defer. That one we don't need. The one that authorizes them to use catch-up, you all don't need to see, but that's most of you have seen it. It's the catch-up worksheet. Okay, the worksheet that documents their shortages over their career. So if you remember with special catch-up, there's several criteria to allow you to do it. The biggest or the most difficult one is saying, I didn't do the maximum my whole career. I want to take some of these shortages and pile them all up into a short period of time. We have to do that worksheet with them to make sure they have enough shortages to be eligible. That triggers the authorization to all of you that they're eligible. Does that make sense?
So it looked at it over the years, because when I processed it and checked balances, what they've done is say, okay, this person's only contributed $10,000, they can do, another 16, another 26. But you said it's now looked at over the years.
It depends. The question was, let me just answer.
I know, I'm sorry.
I love it.
I just want to make sure I have it straight.
So all of it's starting to snow. I'm just kidding. I forget the question. It depends on the person. Sometimes, if someone hasn't contributed at all into the SMART plan and then they're retiring, if they're just enrolling in it, but they have, all of the shortages in the world, they never contribute. So that's what you're referring to. It's super easy to say, yeah, last year you didn't do 18, and now we're piling that 18 in now. So that's, but some people have been doing the maximums for quite some time. The judges, I mean, they have a shorter career, they've been doing the maximums since they started. It's sometimes a little more difficult to get shortages with the judges. The state police or another one. But most employees, it's pretty easy to find those shortages. Some of you, though, we've come to ask for a little more research, and we can thank you for that work and that help. But it is, some people, it's a little more difficult.
Is it the post-retirement employment?
Great questions today. The question was, how do you contribute in post-retirement? You can. I'll give you my standard answer on that, which has been a couple of years since I've addressed you with this. We have to be really, really careful with retirees coming back for a couple of reasons. Talk about the line. Were you recording this?
Yeah, I'm recording. He's not giving any tax or legal advice.
If someone contributes again, they can't take it out because they're still employed. So your employee needs to decide, even though you're part-time, you're still an employee. There's no term date. So they need to make a decision. We've had an issue lately with someone who's working, well, I forget what the agency, actually across the street at the State House, and want to take the money out. Sorry, you're still employed part-time. So we have to be really, really careful with that. I mean, you did the provision. Oh, yes, sorry, yes. Yes. I couldn't hear the whole question. Yeah, we have a fix for that. Have you talked to Carla recently about it? Dr. Carla, yeah, I think we have a fix for that. The question was, you're having trouble downloading the form and being able to read it, and we have, I forget what we do with that, but talk to Carla, and she can help you with the fix for that.
Is there a form online for people to use to change their contribution amount?
The question is there a form to change contribution amount? No, we have not had a form to change contribution amount for 10 years. It's all done online or over the phone, and that's what your file is. That's what the picture of the file is. So the only paper we're using with deferrals is for the unused sick and vacation of the lump sum.
This last one.
No, keep going.
So if we had like a person who's eligible to contribute to OPRA, right, like a contract student or something like that, then ends up getting converted to a regular FTE. Can they withdraw the money that they paid into OPRA, or do they have to open up the 457 and go in?
Great question. Her question is, if you have a part-timer that goes to full-time, and we obviously have this happen a lot in some of the agencies and never in some of the others, can they take the money out? Not if there isn't a significant break between service.
Not a part-timer, but someone who
Well, even
has
anything.
a contract.
It doesn't matter. If they're OPRA and they go to being benefit eligible, they're still employed by the state. They can, I mean, if they're not employed, then they wouldn't be OPRA. But if they're employed and they're an OPRA employee, they change status, they're still employed, they can't take the money out. They have to have a break in service. And the only way that we have a break is if you all terminate them in HRCMS and we receive that file. So, we really, like I said multiple times, we're trying to cool off on the memos. We want to use HRCMS, and if you don't term them, we don't get it, and they're not eligible for the money.
So the balance would just sit there until they decide.
Well, there's other ways to take the money out, so it depends on how big the balance is, but if the balance is less than $5,000, and they haven't contributed for 2 years, they can take the money out.
Couple things. First off, some people didn't hear the answer to the question regarding the form online. People change their contribution amount. So if you didn't see that, there was an issue with people hearing that.
There is no form to change contribution amounts. If someone wants to change how much they're saving, they'll go on our website or call our client services department, and that change will be made, and we'll notify the payrolls through the monthly file.
And the next thing is, but they can move it to other investments with smart, correct?
All investments can be changed online or over the phone or with their advisor. Absolutely. Thank you all. Great. Nice question. Have a great rest of the day. Be safe.
All right, thank you, Rob. Ready. Next. Commuter choice.
Good morning, everybody. Y'all bring your snowshoes? Go play outside after? May know? Okay. Just a few couple of slides for you guys. Some of it might be repetitive. Introduction first. I am Jasmine Shaver from Benefit Strategies. I'm your special, awesome, lovable account manager. We all know the last 8 years, I think. So I'm your account manager for your commuter transit and parking. Some of you may not ever have heard of me for commuter and transit, but I'm also doing your McHugh for the state correctional officers, Central Division, the trust, health and welfare, and the same for any PBA. So I'm one and the same person. But I'm here for your commuter transit and parking for 2018. It went up $5 for this year. Yay, pre-tax. So federal is $125 and state is $135. Both the same for transit and parking. Every employee that enrolls in the commuter transit or parking benefit receives a monthly balance reminder email. So some of you guys have emailed or called me and said, why is this person asking me, meaning you, why they're getting emails from Benefit Strategies about their balance? Because they forget it's there. So unless we remind them every month to check their balance, it's use it or lose it. Unfortunately, you don't get to take it away or take a refund out of it to say it's my money. It doesn't work that way. So we do send those harassing emails every single month to check their balance. And we also harass you guys every month for anyone that has over $500 in the account. That's towards the end of the presentation. I'll show you that special slide that I don't like to show you. So we want to make sure that people do check their balances every single month to stay on top of it. It does roll over month to month. So you have that person that says, oh, it's spring, it's a heat wave, I'm going to walk for the next month or not take the bus or the train. You need to drop out of the plan because that money will just accumulate, and then you're not looking at your balance because you think that you used it, and then you're going to lose it if you end up leaving the Commonwealth. So please make sure that your employees check their balances on a regular basis. We do have a 24/7 option on our phone automated system to check the balance or download our lovely app. So the transit and parking calendars, the enrollment for the commuter plan is electronic through our website. There is no paper election form. Please, please, please do not tell your people to go to our website and print it and fill it out by hand and submit it back to you because we cannot accept that. It has to be done through the Benefit Strategies website. The reason for that, when they select and complete the election form, every single one of your department's division codes is connected to that form, so you'll get an email notification with an attachment of their form. So you get notified immediately. As soon as they hit submit on the form, I get a copy, you get a copy. So you don't have to ask me, did you get John Smith's new enrollment? I have it, I promise. So that is your way of knowing when someone is new in the plan, wants to increase, decrease, drop out. Please be really careful that you're on top of those forms so you don't miss the deadlines of when to stop those deductions or make the changes, because they're the first ones to call us and say, I increased my pass. Why don't I have enough money? We don't have access to HRCMS. You guys do those entries, so please make sure you enter those on time. Also, the deductions are taken out a month in arrears. So your March deduction, last paycheck, the 9th, was for your April transit, and this Friday coming is for your April parking. In case you have someone that says, why can I sign up for March? It's too late. You missed the boat. You should have signed up in February. So our calendars are available right on the form itself. So when you go to the Benefit Strategies website, in the transit section, you have the calendar and also the parking section. Please print them so you have them handy. They're also on our home page, Benefit Strategies, and then click on the Commonwealth logo, and you can print those from there also. And this is a quick snapshot. So the transit, you're going to read the form from the right backwards to the left. So if we're looking at your April benefit month, the deadline was February 28th to submit the election form. Payroll ran on March 6th. Paycheck date was March 9. We fund the account on the 20th of every month. So right now you can only sign up from May or forward. And here's your parking. That deadline also closed last week, the 14th, for the month of April. So again, you can only sign up for the month of May parking. I'm going to take one quick second for the 20th of the month. Transit is always deducted from the first paycheck of the month. Parking is the second paycheck of the month. There are 2, maybe 3 months that have 3 pay periods. There is no deduction in that third pay period. So I don't want you guys to have those questions from your participants that say, why isn't there something deducted from that third check? It's either the first or the second. No form, no change. So again, I can't stress enough how important it is that they do it on the election form electronically through our website. Increase, decrease, drop. Members cannot or should not submit that election form and fill it out by hand to you guys, because we need it electronically to feed that payroll contribution from the HRCMS payroll file. Help us help you if you receive a form from an employee that does not belong to your agency. So let me tell you a story. When they open the form, at the very top of the form, I don't believe I have a snapshot of it, but at the very top of the form it asks them for their department code. 90% of the time, I promise you, they'll go, meeny, miny, mo, pick that one. Attorney General's office in here, or online, thank you. Hi, Lee. So they usually pick that one because it's the first one on the alphabet, AGO. So they're very, very kind to tell me all the time to say that they all belong to Attorney General's office. So if you please open the form, look at it, and say, John doesn't belong here, and I'll do the hunting and find out where they do belong and make sure they fill out the form so you guys have a record of it. So that's not my favorite slide. Y'all know who you are. These are people that have more than $500 in their transit or parking as of last week, the 16th. So DCP, where you at? One person has $2,400 in their account right now. One person. Please call me, email me. I'll tell you who that one person is. DOT, my beeps. At the DOT, we're still very high, close to $5,000. Over $14,000 trial court. Please, please, please have your people check their balances. They can't go shopping with this money. You leave, the money's gone. It's forfeited to the Commonwealth. Please reach out to your people. When I send you that harassing email every month that says over 500, reach out to your people and let them know that they have too much money in their account. They're not using it. They're not submitting claims. I don't know why they have that much money in their account. Have them check their balances. Stop their deductions. Spend it. Please. And my contact information, please don't give that out to anybody. My direct dial, it's for you guys, or the customer service email address and phone number is listed in our website. Any questions? Yes.
This might be more for Kevin. And I know I've asked this before, but I'll give you an update. Will this benefit ever become a feature in self-service to allow employees to enter it themselves?
Sure.
I get a CA on this?
Well, considering you're the department that builds those things, you may be asking the wrong people.
If I need to speak with someone, you let me know.
Any other questions? Awesome. You guys have fun this now. Be safe.
Thank you. All right, so everyone here agrees that Tara's used up her allotment? HRCMS 9.2, New enhancement, online self-service for transit. So there is a couple enhancements. We've talked about these before. We are in the process of doing a image upgrade, which means not a whole lot to you guys until we actually then turn around with that upgrade and turn on new features. So one of them is an overtime request. It's designed to replace paper. If you have a scenario where an employee or a supervisor needs to get pre-approval of overtime before it's worked, that's what that's for. And then travel reimbursement is a full-fledged self-service. You put down the mileage, you attach the receipts right there online, and that will be a self-service feature. That would also mean that, payroll won't need to enter any travel reimbursements ever again. They get to do it themselves. But we are going to be talking about compliance, so don't say, oh, gee, great, time for a summer vacation. Yes. Yes. I don't think the form is actually tied to a particular set of codes. It's tied to a specific set of reasons. So, okay. All right, we have flexible spending. However, I don't know who's speaking. Well, I had more slides, but I took them out.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Anita Spencer. It's been a while since I've been back, so nice to be here. I'm just hoping my flight gets out today. So let's talk about the flexible spending account. Of course, open enrollment starts Wednesday, April 4th through May 2nd, 2018. We do have coordinator trainings coming up starting next week already. And, of course, there'll be 13 benefit fairs throughout the state starting in April, and those will be posted on the website for you as well.
Can you speak a little louder?
Of course. Sorry, get this up closer. Here is the schedule for the coordinator training. You can see we start on Monday in Amherst, Tuesday in Bedford, and then Wednesday there are a couple of sessions right here. And then on Thursday we'll be in Brockton, and that will finish up the week. And as usual, we'll have the coordinator packets put together for you with our presentation and various forms and things, and the online open enrollment instructions. Let's just kind of review some of the plan provisions. The GIC does require that employees who enroll into the dependent care spending account are in fact GIC eligible. Keep in mind that if you have new hires throughout the year, they need to sign up within 10 days. And if you have someone who's gone on unpaid leave of absence, they have some payment options. They can prepay, they can pay while they're on leave, and most importantly, they can do catch-up payments once they come back to work. One of the new things for this year, the IRS did increase the health care maximum limit, so it went up by $50, so $2,600 currently, and it will go up to $2,650 next year. We get a lot of comments about people who don't like that limitation or the parking and transit limitations, but unfortunately we are one voice and you are so many. So write your representatives, your congressmen, your senators, tell them you don't like it. That was all part of health care reform, by the way. Also, with regard to the dependent care spending account, there is a $5,000 family contribution limit for dependent care accounts. And now that limit is a tax year or a calendar year limit. So in order to prevent people from overfunding their plan years, the GIC has put in a weekly and a biweekly limitation, and that will ensure that each person who enrolls in dependent care remains under that federal limit that they must adhere to. Also keep in mind there is a check limit, so anybody who signed up for old-fashioned reimbursement checks, there is a $25 limit, so if you submit a claim that is smaller than $25, it will be processed and pended until such time that a subsequent claim comes in that would cause the total to exceed $25. There is no limitation on electronic payments, so encourage your people to sign up for direct deposit. Of course, there's no limitation on debit card transactions either. Here's just some information on the plan year, and I'll draw your attention to the right-hand column. The plan year, of course, starts July 1st, 2018, runs through June 30th of next year. The healthcare maximum, again, up to $2,650. There is a minimum contribution amount of $250 per month. And then again, that dependent care is $5,000 per tax year or calendar year. And so we have the weekly and the biweekly contribution amounts listed there for you. And then your plan also has a grace period, and that is an additional 2.5-month period of time following the close of the plan year. So your plan year ends June 30th, so you've got July, August, and through September 15th, during which you can still incur expenses to spend down the prior year balance. So that's a nice cushion for people to have. And then the deadline to submit claims is October 15th. Oh, it sure should. Thank you. Okay. Also, we have established an employer portal for all of you, and you want to be sure that you are checking this. With the portal, you have your unique login credentials. If any of you do not have those or you're not sure what those are, make sure you reach out to our account manager, Kalina Kohlmeyer, who's listening in, by the way, today. So I know several of you have asked about her. Her email is flexgic@asiflex.com. So you can email her to get those credentials, or you can otherwise call her. As we receive the contribution reports from each payroll center each payday, we will post those to individuals' accounts, and then we will produce a discrepancy report to identify if there is any contribution amount that does not match. And so that discrepancy report is critical. Those are the things that can cause problems on the participant side if those are not correct. So you want to work those within 2 days and make sure we identify why that changed or why something was missing. This is also the place where you can upload enrollment forms. You can upload status change forms as well. So some of the action items coming up, because we're moving into our busy open enrollment period. So in May and June, once we start receiving the enrollment, you'll want to be sure that, well, first of all, we encourage everybody to enroll online. There is a paper option, but if you do have paper, make sure it's legible. We get so many forms in, or make sure it's complete. We get a lot of forms that are not complete. Sometimes we're not even able to identify the person. So as people enroll online, we'll be producing an enrollment list for you, and you want to be sure and compare that to this current year's enrollment. If someone does not re-enroll for the next plan year, fiscal year, you want to be sure and get that deduction stopped. Otherwise, you're going to continue taking deductions, then you're going to have to request a refund, and refunds, by the way, need to be requested within a certain time frame. You don't want those to go on and on. There will be an updated job aid. I think it was being worked on here in the last month or so, but that will be posted in the Knowledge Center for everyone. And then throughout the year, again, we'll be posting each payday. Those discrepancy reports will be posted there for you. You'll receive an email when that is posted, and you want to be sure that you review and reconcile that within 2 business days, and you'll work with our data team to do that. If there are some payroll error refunds, if somebody did not re-enroll and that continues, or something didn't get changed to a correct amount, those need to be requested within 60 days, and ASI does not make the final decision. We have to send that on to the GIC for their review and final decision. And sometimes that can take a little bit of time depending on, schedules and so forth. So your role is just to make sure it gets submitted within the 60-day time frame. Also, contacting ASIFlex. So on the left is your account manager, Kalina Kohlmeyer, and that is for you folks. Please do not give out her contact information to plan participants. Employees can contact our ASI customer service. They're on the right-hand side, and they're available through extended hours from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. They're also there on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then they also, of course, have access to our website. They can look at their account. We have a great mobile app, submit claims on the go. You can check your account balance on the go. So with that, one of the other things I wanted to show you today is I did bring a few of these brochures. This is something we haven't used with your group before, but we will start using it. It's a flyer, and it's about the ASIFlex debit card. It seems that this group has quite a few questions still about using the card and not understanding that in some cases documentation is required to substantiate those transactions. So this is just a nice little brochure about how to use the card, what to anticipate, when to anticipate requests for documentation, and actually how to handle those. So I'll either pass these out or put them on a table out front so that you can have them. So with that, Kevin, I think I am wrapped up.
Questions?
Oh, okay. So I know Colleen is listening in. You know, why don't we take that back? Or better yet, maybe we can speak with you to kind of get some input. Okay. It sounds like it might be something we could take a look at. I'm not exactly sure of the total process of what they're doing, but if there's something that we could streamline there, we sure want to do it. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll give you my card before we go. Okay. Is there anything else? All righty. Thank you so much. Hi.
If you're currently enrolled, but we're not, can you submit a claim for a new claim year, like for July? So I just overheard that.
No. The question is, if you're currently in the program and you've exhausted your fund, you've spent all your dollars, can you submit a claim now for the new plan year on July 1st? No, because your expenses need to be incurred July 1st or after. So that doesn't make sense. Okay, don't want to miss anybody. And all right.
Thank you. So, in full disclosure, I never promise things I can't deliver, but I got to do that today. We may have a solution for people who are re-enrolled. All right, quickly, calendar year wrap up. We wrapped it up. Just like handy information, you know, you want to tell your friends and relatives about what how much the state payroll and taxes are. You've got 7 years worth there. And this year, we had brought on the MBTA, so you'll see a little uptick between 16 and 17. And so to illustrate that a little differently, we decided to show you all the Commonwealths and all the MBTA, and then that goes back to the other total. So it's, we're bringing on as many people as we can. The school building authority is on HRCMS. So if anybody out there wants to join us, just come and call me. There is tax changes, and the first one people noticed right away, not right away, but early February, the tax rates changed, so people had more take-home pay. But since then, we've gotten from the IRS their W-4 calculator. And so in the old W-4 form, you would say, I'm married, that's 1, I have a wife, that's 2, I have 3 kids, all right, that's 5. Yeah, I did that math in my head. And that made a difference about, what your withholding rates would be. Well, they don't have the dependent, the personal exemptions anymore. It's been rolled out. So this year, there is a new W-4 form. The questions are the same, but how you get to those answers are different. And they have a W-4 calculator. That's a hyperlink to the IRS page. So what I think is really important for all of us is to let your employees know, if you have a lot of Schedule A deductions, or you have 75 kids, or whatever it is, it will be different next year. Not the tax filing that's happening now, but a year from now. And what we don't want is people to say, oh my God, I owe the federal government, $6,000. How did that happen? So this is the time you got to make sure that they decide, and it's their decision about what their withholding amounts are. So I don't want to, overemphasize this enough, but this is a communication. We put it out there on the announcements. We sent the stuff to all of you earlier about making sure that people do a new W-4 form, or at least understand that they might need to do a W-4 form. Okay? Any questions on that? Oh, Frank, of course. What can I do for you?
Let's say, like me, single person, never been married, what do we want? Should I do another calculator?
Well, the good thing is I don't give any tax or legal advice. But again, you have to look at how you're filing your taxes now. When you go, and I'm assuming that TurboTax or any place like that will probably have a page there saying this is time to do a new W-4. But it really comes down to what's your, do you have an outside business? Do you have a home mortgage? Do you give a lot to charity? It's all those kinds of items that are on the Schedule A that may or may not change. So what I would suggest is when you finish doing your taxes, take out the calculator because you're really going to need your actual this year's tax return to do the calculator. It's a lot more complicated than it has been in the past. Okay? Up to him.
Employees can go into SSPA, right, and change their deduction. But what we found recently is that they cannot go in and change their state withholding.
Okay, good question.
That's a real problem for us because they thought it was on the act. And it's tied to that, and I don't know if this is the correct place to discuss it, but someone told me that they put an address change in, and the address change didn't carry over into the GIP, which I was on that.
Okay, there were two questions, compound questions. I'll give you a compound answer. All right, first question was, if I change the self-service dues in the W-4 page, does it update the state page? No. We know that that's something that we need to do for you. We have a request to have that enhancement made to HR CMS. Oracle PeopleSoft has delivered something that's supposed to do that. Right now, part of the items is that we don't roll out anything to employees that isn't accessible. And that's the short answer why it's not rolled out. But yes, if they want to change their state withholdings, it's not automatic. They still have to come to you guys. The second part of that question was, Bob wants to jump in, was about home address. So the home address is part of the employee maintenance. It doesn't happen instantaneously. It happens in a file that happens on a regular basis. So it does get updated. It's just not instantaneous. Huh? So I will ask GIC again, but according to the technical people, it should update. Okay, so if you have examples, send it to Sam because Sam's the smartest guy in the room. All right, Rob, he's in the back waving his hands.
Can you tell the room what the best solution is for anyone who's paying too much in tax?
So Ron wants to know, what's the best solution for people paying too much in taxes? Deferred comp, maximum. You might not be able to pay your mortgage, but you'll be all set for retirement. All right, we have a special guest star. You have another question? Special guest star here today to give a presentation. Our Deputy Comptroller and General Counsel, Jenny Hedderman.
Thank you, Kevin. Hello, everybody. Usually when Leo comes in, it's like dun, dun, dun. Big guy. Hopefully, you will find this helpful in your job in payroll. So this part of the presentation you'll see from the slides is intentionally dense. It's not like your normal PowerPoint slide. And this is done on purpose. This was done so you could take this portion of the presentation and give it out to your management and your supervisors, anybody who's involved with processing payroll and validating payroll. And this is to identify your collective responsibilities, which are not just the payroll people, but people that are out in the field who are doing supervisor validation, and to make sure that everybody knows what their internal control responsibilities are. So it's really meant to be a working document for everybody. We will also be independently sending this out to legal counsel, CFOs, payroll people, to also remind them of what the current expectations are so everybody's clear. When issues arise, we're finding that everybody blames payroll, and a lot of the issues that are arising are not at payroll, that they're at other areas. So we want to make sure that you're protected in this endeavor, so that's why we're starting this process. There we go. Okay. So the payroll expectations, these are not new. You know these, but these are to identify it for your legal staff and other people who may not know what the expectations are. So the key is that it's accurately entered by both employees and the department, that it's appropriately validated, and that what you're approving is for actual hours worked and for appropriate approved leave. Those are pretty, normal, but some people just don't know that that's what the validation responsibility is. And then it's appropriately approved. There's a statute that requires every department head to approve payroll in order for us to process it. We're relying that the department head has validated it through the chain of command, just like contracts and any other expenditure that you have. And that you are managing payroll to make sure it's appropriately approved. So you know this, but this is really just setting the baseline for your department. Okay. So material mistakes and adjustments. And why is this important? So if you have minor mistakes, most people say, well, it's just a minor mistake. It's not a big deal. But it's the collective action of minor mistakes that accumulate over time. And the adjustments are supposed to be caught by the supervisor before the payroll runs. So if your supervisor is looking at what you're doing and has eyes on staff and they're going through who's on vacation and who's taking leave, the supervisors are supposed to catch these mistakes before payroll runs. That's in a perfect world. The majority of payroll payments are presumed to be accurate, and that adjustments or mistakes or corrections should be not the norm, not routine, but something that happens because of an anomaly. An employee entered it wrong, oops, I forgot to change it to vacation, they come on the next Monday or whatever, and you make the change. So if there's a high number of payroll corrections, if you're spending a lot of your time doing prior period adjustments and a lot of mistakes, that's a red flag for your agency. That means that the internal controls are falling down. And that means that you have an opportunity there to push it back to your management and say, look, we're having a lot of mistakes on the employee side, on the management side. We really need to start doing more training. We need to remind people that it has to be accurate and push it back out so you're getting the support you need. The more mistakes that are happening, the more time you're spending doing mistakes, you have less time to devote to your normal payroll activities, and then it's just, you're like chasing your tail. So the bottom bullet really is the most important. The internal controls must be in place for supervisors to review and validate all time. And this is a critical discussion that has to happen in the department. A lot of people have left, a lot of new people came in, come in. This needs to be a routine part of internal controls to discuss with your agency. And you have to have due diligence. If you go through this internal discussion in your office and you document that you talk to everybody, you train your supervisors, you talk to employees about how important it is to have accurate time, and you roll this out, if there is something that blows up, they're going to come and the first question they're going to ask you is, what did you do to prevent this? So if you have this discussion, you have this information out, you sent this document that we prepared for you out to your legal counsel or your compliance staff, you're going to have a much better position to say, look, we have done due diligence, this is just an anomaly, this is not reflective of our overall payroll process. That's where you want to be when the press and the auditor's office, the inspector general, and the attorney general's office are down your back asking you, how did this happen? You want to have documentation that you have good internal controls in place, and then an anomaly happens, especially if it was an employee who was putting in time. So that's something just to, really remember that your due diligence now, a little extra work now, is going to save you an enormous amount of work later on. So one thing that we've noticed and why we're raising it is we're seeing a lot more mistakes. And for us, that's a red flag because our staff is spending a lot more time correcting mistakes just to get payroll processed. So if we're seeing it at our end, we know it's happening out in the agency, so that's a red flag that you folks are going to be prepared for. What we're also finding is some payroll mistakes seem really tiny. They're $200 pay period, or there's overpayment where they were getting extra hours. They were on a full-time instead of a part-time. Somebody just made a mistake. But it's happened for weeks, months, or years. So some of these overpayments are $100,000. So over the course of a couple of years, if you don't find it, it's going to cost your agency and the Commonwealth an enormous amount of money. So we're just finding some of these mistakes are people who put something in, they retired, nobody found it, and then all of a sudden you discover an overpayment. So you just have to be careful because these happen due to validation failures. We're also finding some of the mistakes happen during the transfer, bringing them in from another department, and then the mistake in onboarding. Everybody says, oh, they're one and done, they're wrong, they're going, they're getting paid. Nobody looks at their paycheck. The payroll looks like it's not out of whack. The supervisors aren't really checking it to see if the base pay is really accurate for the hours that they're working, and then you have a serious overpayment. In 6 months, it can accumulate really, really quickly. And what it comes down to is if this happens, it may be just, an innocent mistake, but it's going to be reviewed and viewed for you as an internal control failure. So that's something just to think about. It's not just a payroll mistake. It's internal control failure. So it's going to be viewed as something being much more serious than, oops, we just made a mistake. So, I'm sorry. So when the mistakes are discovered, then you have to go through the reconciliation. And what we're finding is to recoup $1,000, $5,000, $100,000 is really, really difficult. And sometimes you can't recoup it. And sometimes it's past the end of the fiscal year, so even if you recoup it, it's going right into the general fund, your department will never see it again. In a time of fiscal crisis, when you have deficiencies already, $1,000 may make the difference in you trying to get your bills paid. So that's why it's important to have this, resolved. We also have to do tax reconciliation within 3 years, so sometimes they have to refile their taxes. We have to have tax reform. So the bottom line is for you, it's a lot of extra work for you. And it's not just a couple hours, it's weeks and months. So that's the benefit of doing a little extra work on the front end. It's going to save you 3 times the amount of work on the back end. Also for, larger mistakes, there's going to be litigation. There's a lot of news in the press about time theft right now. And there was a forensic audit done in certain cases, and they're going to dig down into every single detail, every single record. And once you get into that, that's when the fun starts. That's when the AZ gets involved, or there's criminal, or there's litigation, or disciplinary that runs into the department. So once you get into one of these areas, it's an enormous amount of work for you. And also there's a lot of accusations, because everybody wants a fall guy. And who's the natural place to put it? Payroll people. Payroll people should have done this. The reality is some of these mistakes have nothing to do with you. They have to do with the oversight of the employee. nothing to do with you. You can look at your payroll records and not see anomalies. But now that you're aware of this, it's going to hopefully encourage you to be a little bit more aware of what's coming down and to ask questions. So if something looks a little bit off, a couple $100 more than a normal pay period, you ask the question. And you push it back to the supervisors. Are you validating it? Do you make sure that this leave was actually worked? Are you checking to see that people were actually in the office and not on vacation? These are normal questions that you can ask, so don't be afraid to push back. And we want to give you the authority to be able to do that. We're also raising this because payroll entries are coming under increasing scrutiny. We have a lot of public information requests out. Some of you may have helped us with the leave with pay information that we're trying to gather. We also have the Globe trying to get race information for individual employees, which we're not giving out because we think that's a security and fiscal threat to individuals. If we have a list of every state employee and their race, then it targets people just because of their race. We think that's incredibly dangerous for employees, but there's a huge political push to get that information out because they're saying for your employees, if we have this information, we can really help in hiring. So there's just a lot of misinformation that's out there, and we're really trying to make sure that employees are not harmed. So having, more information and more review of your payroll records is really important at this time because the press is coming. They're coming to us to get the information about you and your employees. If they're not successful getting it from us, they're coming to you, and they're not going to stop digging. So you need to make sure when they start to dig that the information is accurate, you have documentation, and you can hold your head up and say, yes, these are accurate, and we're doing the right thing. So we just want to give you notice that they're coming. The auditor's office is also on the hunt. They get a tremendous amount of information from the CIW. They have a whole data analytics machine that is constantly looking for anomalies, and they're going to be coming to you and saying, this looks out of whack, and asking you for more information. And they may even have an audit. So the more work you do to make sure your payroll is accurate and that you've done your homework, these audits will be really short and sweet because you'll be able to document, yes, we've done our homework, we're following internal controls, bye-bye. So we, want to identify, this is not really for you, this is for other people in the agency. Payroll entries are not just payroll entries. They're not just a simple enter code and a little piece of money and you're done. They really are treated like every other expenditure for an agency. So whether it's a contract or payroll, it still has a state finance law component. You need the authority and the validation and the payment. So all entries are considered part of an employee's personnel file. So if it's entered incorrectly, the personnel file is wrong. If there's litigation with that employee, there's a grievance, there's an arbitration, and they get a copy of the payroll file, and it doesn't match, then it's going to be harder for the department, especially if the department is in the right. Sometimes courts or arbitrators or a grievance will say, well, you messed up on the payroll, so obviously, you're wrong. So that's why the payroll record now is electronic. It's in HRCMS. It's no longer a paper file. So that's why HRCMS really needs to be accurate. So there's, it means something when you put those entries in. So the other part of this we wanted to kind of give a warning for was with increased transparency, there's also a push to hide things because people don't want things out on see-through, and they don't want it out in the press. So they try to kind of jury-rig the system so that you can't find it. Don't do it. They'll find it. You do searches through and you see anomalies, it's going to stand out, and it's going to look like a mistake, and it's going to be interpreted as intentional fraud. Not that someone said, oh, can you help me get this done, this is an emergency, and what's the best way to do it? If you don't document it, it's going to look like you intentionally were fraudulent, and that's going to come back to you. So you have to be really careful about it. So we get it. We get the pressure that you're under. We get a manager or a department head or someone coming to you and saying, I need this done, I need it done this way. You still have to follow the rules. And at that point, you have to say, look, happy to do it, but you need to sign off as department head, or you need to sign off as, the manager and say you're directing me to do this. So material changes. So this one, usually has a lot of groans when we talk about it because something that's really over 1 day's pay. This is not just, a mistake, I forgot to put, 3 days of vacation in. This is when it really has a value of more than 1 day's pay. That's when it really starts accruing value, and this is where the press and the IGO and the AGO are going to consider it, time theft or a larger amount of money. So when you start getting up to more than a day, it's going to be something of value. Also, it's the cumulative effect. If you say, it's just 1 day's pay, you multiply it by 100 people, that's a lot of money. If it's across a huge secretariat, that's a huge amount of money. So it's the cumulative effect of a small mistake that you also have to think about. So time theft is the new area for audit. It's the shiny object that everybody wants to look at. And that's the thing that people are talking about now, and you'll see it in the press, because the public is saying, how can people get paid more than they're authorized to get? That's so unfair. And there's a lot of people who are not getting paid, overpaid, and they're expecting that the public and government is going to pay appropriately. So whenever there's a inference of time theft, it's being considered really bad. So you'll be considered complicit in time theft if these overages are authorized by your agency. And you're in the food chain, so you're going to be part of that process. So you just have to be careful about that. So if you have poor supervisor oversight and they're not doing the right B&B, then that's going to run down through payroll. So that's why we're kind of raising this and trying to raise awareness across the agency that this really is a big deal. It's not just payroll. It's not just one time entry. It's 98,000 people that are involved. So it's a pretty big deal when you accumulate it over 151 departments. So the big one, if anybody gives you a hard time, you can pull this slide out. I pull it out in almost every talk I ever do. If anybody ever asks you to do something you're uncomfortable with, pull out the slide. And just say, are you intentionally asking me to breach state finance law? That usually will give them pause. And these include the attorneys in your office who may not be aware of this section. I try to remind them often. But whenever you feel like you're being asked to do something that you are uncomfortable with, that you don't think is appropriate, or that you don't have enough documentation to support you feeling comfortable putting in, pull out this slide. I usually have one in a folder in my desk that I pull out all the time and bring it to meetings. Have it there, because that's something that will protect you. Because you shouldn't be intentionally asked to do something which is fraudulent. And if they are asking you to do it, and they are compelling you to do it, and they're threatening you to do it, then ask them, fine, I need your signature on this, that you're asking me to do it. And in any situation that you feel uncomfortable, and you don't feel comfortable in your legal counsel, give me a call. And I will assist you in resolving that issue. Usually, we will contact the department and say, we've heard of the situation, just wanted to check out to see if you needed any assistance. There hasn't been one situation that we've been contacted where it hasn't been resolved successfully with no repercussions to the payroll staff, because everybody wants to do the right thing. 9 times out of 10, it's a lack of knowledge that the managers have over how to do it appropriately. And there's usually an appropriate way to do it that gets what they want done. So, best advice is, if you have any questions, please give us a call. Okay. So, in some cases, if there is a big mistake, so don't freak out if there is a big mistake. Sometimes they happen, they just happen. There's an overpayment of $5,000. There's some reconciliation that's been going on for 3 years. Let us know. Contact us, and we will assist you with how to resolve it and do the documentation for it. Sometimes it may require a settlement. If someone has been overpaid by a lot of money, we're probably going to ask them to sign a settlement agreement agreeing to a repayment plan. And whether or not we waive a certain amount of what they owe because we say the payroll people should have caught it, so therefore the department has a certain percentage of responsibility, that's a negotiated settlement. So that's something that we would work with you and assist you in doing. So don't do it yourself. Involve us, because we have a lot of experience, unfortunately, recently doing these. So we have a whole process that will make it a lot easier for you. Sometimes it will get into litigation where the employee will decide they don't want to pay it back, and they want to make it the department's responsibility, and they want to litigate it. So at that point, we usually get involved with the negotiations for that. So we also should be consulted whenever there is a failure to pay. Oops, I forgot to pay somebody this week. We need to know about that immediately law that requires people to be paid within 5 days of the hours that they've worked. So there is, there's extensive damages to you if you don't pay people on time. So if that happens, your payroll runs, oops, I didn't pay them, contact Kevin or Tryntje or myself and let us know, because we usually can figure out a way to get the payment done. And if we can't get it done by that Friday, we'll do it as quickly as we can so there's not an issue. Because they don't get better with time. It's not like wine. It's also contact us if there's been an overpayment. Even if it's 1 day or 5 hours or whatever, if you contact us, we give you instructions of how to reconcile it, then you've gone through due diligence. If you haven't corrected on yourself, we contact the Comptroller's office, they ask us to do this is our documentation. Just a good internal control. And then whenever you have a material correction that you think is more just, than a couple of hours, let us know. So the rest of the slides are really for settlements and judgments. I'm not sure how many folks are involved with settlements and judgments, but these are just reminders, primarily for legal staff and other people who are involved in settlements and judgments. You're at the back end. You get the settlement and judgment at the back end when you have to enter it. But if they do a bad job of negotiating it so you can't put it in, that puts you in a really difficult spot. So we're trying to educate people and re-educate people, the lawyers and the policy people and the managers, that there are requirements for how you negotiate settlements and judgments, and there's a limit on the types of payroll payments that you can make. So we have a whole website that is devoted, has all the policies, all the instructions, everything you need. You let your legal staff know if you're doing settlements and judgments, you have to follow those instructions, and we can't process it unless you follow those instructions. Have any questions, give us a call. There's a mailbox for all the settlements and judgments to go. Or if you have a question of settlements and judgments, just send it to the mailbox. That's the fastest way to get a response. And then the rest of the slide just kind of outlines the basics of what is a judgment, what is a settlement, and just a few reminders. Vacation time and comp time are not really things that you can negotiate just like retirement. People think they're just like Bitcoin, that you can kind of negotiate. They're really not. Vacation is earned time. You have to do an algorithm saying they work these number of hours, therefore they accrue this number of vacation hours. You can't give them more than what they're entitled to, otherwise it's considered time theft. Even if you have a settlement, it's still time theft because they're getting retirement, they're getting credible service, and they're just not entitled to it. So be careful, because some people are going to think, like your lawyers and like your managers, that you can negotiate retirement and vacation and comp time and all these things. They're really not negotiable items. So just be careful with that. For back pay, there are specifics as far as how you do back pay. If somebody is off the payroll and they get interim earnings, they get unemployment, they have another job, we have to do a calculation which reduces it from the amount that we paid, because you can't pay somebody more than they would have been entitled had they been working. But we have to do it as a slightly different calculation. You can't just kind of pull it off the top. We have to enter the payment, the full gross amount of the back pay, in order to take the retirement, because they're entitled to retirement on the full gross amount. And then we take the interim amount out, so they're only taxed on the net. So they get the retirement benefit and they get the tax benefit. So it's a little bit more complicated. Kevin and Tryntje in our office will assist you in doing that. You don't have to do it. The regular vanilla ones, you'll enter those. But any of these unique ones like back pay will assist you if they have interim earnings. You also have to document the number of hours and what the salary was and any increases for the time of the back pay. So if people are saying, oh, I want to give somebody back pay, you can only get what you would have earned or any amount that you weren't paid. So there's some situations where people were working at a higher grade, but they didn't get paid at a higher grade, and they're getting paid the balance. That can be done as back pay, which is fine, but you still have to provide a calculation of the number of hours and the amount so that it comes out to the total amount, so nobody's overpaid. And the reason you do this is the retirement board is going to come and ask you, this back pay was payment, it added to retirement, where's your documentation? So we ask you to do the documentation as part of the settlement process, so when the retirement board comes to knocking, you have the document, it's all set to go, it's not a problem for you. Reimbursements, this is a big one. This is not a place to hide settlements or other types of payments. So reimbursements are not taxable, therefore they are highly auditable earnings code. which means people are going to want to say, I want the settlement, but I'm only going to accept it if you do it under B10 because I don't want to be taxed for it. Don't fall for it. Because everybody's going to be looking at these. This is an area where somebody's going to come to you and say, give me all your reimbursements and all the documentation. So if you don't have it, make sure you go back and you check to make sure you have the documentation and it's valid. And then interest is just the normal interest for that. And that's it. Any questions? Throw it a lot at you. Yeah.
So in terms of the issues where a staff person is not paid over, underpaid, and we have 5-day requirements to make sure they're paid.
Yes.
Okay. So with SSDA, when there are mistakes made by the employee on payroll Monday, may not cost by have an obligation to say,
right, so your supervisor should be checking to see that the payroll that was entered matches the number of days that were worked. So normally, the goal is, that's what we're aspiring to, is that supervisors are going to catch it by payroll Monday so that you can enter it. If for any reason you find out after payroll Monday, after it's processed, what's the cutoff date? 6 o'clock Monday. So if you find out at 6:15 that somebody's getting paid for 4 days instead of 5, then at that point you need to contact us. And it's the Dynacash process? Yeah, the Dynacash process to make sure they get paid by Friday.
So if the employee changed something, it's like their fault is the reason why they're not getting paid. Like they changed it after we, ran off time admin, all that stuff. Wasn't there, we have to cover the Dynacash as opposed to...
Not necessarily. It's going to depend, but just let us know.
Okay.
Because then we can... I'm sorry?
Repeat the question for the podcast.
The question is, if it was an employee's fault, that after everything was processed and they changed it and the supervisor wasn't there, the question was, do you have to do a Dynacash? It depends. What we want to do is, if you find there's an anomaly and you think somebody hasn't been paid, contact Kevin and Tryntje or myself, contact us so that we can give you directions on how to do it. If you have to do a Dynacash, we'll walk you through that process of how to do it.
Same thing as if an employee was out always on vacation, forgot to put their time in.
Exactly. Exactly. So the question was, is it the same as if somebody was out on vacation and forgot to put their time in? Exactly. So again, we feel for you as payroll folks, you have an enormous and we want to support you, so please let us know if something comes up, and we can certainly assist you.
Thank you. Okay, so, hopefully these aren't people who had to go and make Dynacash checks. All right, so we start off, here's the law, this is your responsibility, and I'm going to take it down a notch, right? What is our collective responsibility? So one of the things, just before I forget though, if you are the payroll director and you have staff, you're responsible for your staff, okay? Which keeps me up at night, right, Gino? So the CFO, right, so the ability to pay anything for anyone comes from the agency head, and then the CFO is kind of the administrative part of that. What I wanted to, because I think some people, and I don't know why, the payroll reports to HR, CFO is still responsible for payroll, whether or not they have direct line supervision over those people or not. They're responsible. And the department head has the responsibility for the CFO. All right, so we wanted to get as many words as we can on one slide. But it generally says everything that Jenny was just saying is that, you are the big part of the defense of mistakes, frauds, what have you. And I would say, as a payroll director, you have an up responsibility and a down responsibility. You have an up responsibility saying, CFO, gee, I don't think you can, do a, $100 million retro to Bob, it doesn't seem to be right. And you have a downwards responsibility. I have staff that I believe are following the internal controls that we all have in place. Sometimes you have to dust them off and look at them again. But basically, for internal controls, it's like, do you have a process in place to make sure that there's documentation of what you're doing and a review of the risk areas? So here's like the more practical. Well, what can I do? Right. The first thing is get those policies out, read them, understand them. Now, I'm talking to all you people who are showing up to Payroll User Group meeting, which is one of the internal controls to begin with, right? You come, you get educated, find out what's new. But you got to make sure that if you have staff or you have people who give you instructions, that they understand what the payroll policies are, and you have to follow the best practices, which is the bare minimum, right? Our best practices document says, on Monday you look at this report, Tuesday you look at that report. If that's all you're doing, the chances of you catching mistakes other than the ones that truly in your face is probably unlikely. You're not going to find that you have a reimbursement and when you did additional pay, you just put in a new date and sequence one and you had, the $50, but you didn't realize at that same time you brought over a, $200 reimbursement. It's not easy to see on additional pay. It's one of the reasons why we try to keep you guys out of there. That you brought another payment over, and unless you do reconciliation afterwards, after you put an entry, you're going to put $250 on that person's paycheck, and, lots of luck of people actually noticing that and telling you from the employee point of view. But that's kind of things that you need to be watching for. So you need to make sure that you look for the big stuff, but then you're going to need to do something on the little stuff, and Tryntje will get into that. But we got to make sure that, where are the mistakes, paying the wrong amounts, paying employees late, right? Sometimes that's not your fault, but it is a payroll error. If you're getting overtime not entered in time, those people who are still doing data entry of overtime, if you're the people doing the data entry and you do it in arrears, you're already making a payroll error. That person was due that money the week or pay period before. Or using the wrong pay code. Well, I don't know what this pay code does, but it seems like a good one. Those things do mean things, and it's generally, there's a lot of things around these pay codes that, not, at the tip of your tongue, beyond the normal ones. What object code does it hit? Is it taxable? Does it add to your retirement? Does it, those are kinds of things that, people will say, oh, I didn't realize, if I put in ROT, right, that's going to be AOA, and it's going to be not subject to retirement. Because ROR is right next to it. We shouldn't put them together like that because people can pick up a list of wrong things. And adjustments, right? So you need to correct overpayment and underpayments right away. They don't get better with age, as Jenny said. If you make a mistake that's in the prior tax year, you need to correct the taxes, whether they be W-2Cs or 1099s. That process has a real impact to the employees. So I know we talked about payroll receipt vouchers that cost calendar years, and I said, well, I didn't get to it. When you do a W-2C, that employee automatically gets flagged when they go to file their taxes for audit. That's just one of those things. It's not a person, it's usually a machine that goes and audits what they ever put in before. Probably use a reconciliation of Dynacash. That piece involves more than just payroll. It's usually accounts payable as well, because they manage the accounts. But you guys are the ones responsible about how much the checks are for, and we got to make sure that if you give somebody a Dynacash check, remember to put the Dynacash repayment in to get it back. It's not an interest-free loan. So, one of the things, and this is one of those kind of, philosophical things, right? You are payroll, but because of segregation of duties, which is good, you don't do a lot of the data entry when it comes to the HR part. Unfortunately, because you are payroll, anything that they put on that HR record is your responsibility to make sure it's correct. If they don't put the Medicare tax correctly, if they don't put the salary plan correct, if they don't put the annual rate in correct, right? That's something that you have some responsibility for as well. So, I think you've got to make sure, and the other thing is, if HR is asking, doing something, and again, it goes back to Jenny's talk about, is it, do I feel comfortable, all this, you are within your rights before payroll runs to ask for documentation that this was properly authorized. So if they all of a sudden have this huge pay increase, that goes retro back to, 1972, you've got to make sure that that's properly authorized. That's part of your responsibilities. So here's a list of those kinds of places that you should be thinking about that have a payroll impact. SSNs, right? HR generally is the one that creates the person, but you would also have some responsibility to make sure that if you see all X's, that it's probably not correct. And you got to watch for dates and those kinds of things. And you're not going to see that right away, so you need a process to figure that out. Remember that a timesheet is an invoice. Think of it that way. So much easier on a fiscal sense. You say, well, that's an invoice, and therefore the person needs to create it, somebody needs to authorize it, and people need to have internal controls on it. And reimbursement. And this one, we've done this in the past on it really quickly. You cannot give a reimbursement unless you're on an accountable plan. As everybody here knows, an accountable plan means you have receipts that shows that employee incurred that cost. So if you're paying a cell phone bill, you need documentation that the person has the cell phone and paid the bill. You can't just give them the money. Otherwise, it becomes taxable. You can reimburse them, you can do an assessment, and we have a code for that. But if you're not having and keeping receipts, then it can be reimbursed, but that reimbursement becomes taxable. Deductions, make sure your taxes are right. Voluntary deductions, union dues. Make sure that if you're taking a union dues, the person actually is in that union. Garnishments, I know we handle that, but we work closely with you. And the retirement plans, we already talked about that. This is on the accounting side, right? So is the person set up in the right account? Are you doing labor distribution? Do you have rules in place for charging to that federal account or that capital account? You need to have a process in place. And one of the more important things is you're not supposed to spend money you don't have. If the money's not in place, the person really shouldn't be coming to work. Obviously, there is, allotments and those kinds of things and those kinds of considerations. But again, part of our responsibility is the money is there before they come to work, not after they come to work. And one of the things is we are now getting to a point where, unless you're a full-time student, everybody's paying Medicare. April of '86 is a long time ago. I bet you there's people in this room who were born after April of '86. Right, Felicia? So that should be an easy query for you guys to take care of. And with that, I turn it over to Tryntje, and she's going to show you and tell you how to do it in 5 minutes.
Good morning. Hi, everybody. Thanks for the room. Okay. So, I'm probably not going to be able to hold it. So I talk very loudly so people in the room can definitely hear me. So payroll reconciliation. Just a little humor to start off my presentation. So there are two types of reconciliation. There's reconciliation before
payroll, which is making sure that everybody has their time reported, all of the payments and deductions are calculating correctly, and that there is funding in place to pay the payments that you're authorizing. There is also the after. There's the payroll expenditure approval, which after payroll calculates, you all sign that letter and you keep it in your files, and then somebody from risk management comes and does a single audit and asks you for that payroll expenditure authorization form, and you all produce them immediately. If we did karma coding on them, we'd find out it was signed on Wednesday after payroll. There's also funding, because we do realize that there are situations where the funding was not ready in the account, but you charge to it, so it goes into your nines account, and then you still have to do corrections in Mars and LCM to make sure that that money gets pointed away from the nines, particularly as we approach the end of the fiscal year. And then record retention. So there are things that the departments should be keeping on hand after payroll runs, because it does become part of the audit process. So pre-payroll reconciliation is, so there are a couple of different kinds of time and attendance. There's self-service time and attendance. There are multiple reports available online in HRCMS. They are updated with each time admin run, which is a process which runs every 2.5 hours, I think, throughout the day, 7:30, 10:30, 1, and 4, 3:30. And these reports do have limited results. So if you have a large department, you may have more than 1,000 lines. These reports only show you 1,000 lines, but we also make them available in the warehouse where you can get more than 1,000 lines. So the ones that I've highlighted, which you'll be able to see this later on if you can't see it today, it'll be posted online. You can see these are the ones that have to do with time approvals, if they have unapproved time, if they have no reported time, if they're over their scheduled hours. These are all those reports. And again, they're updated every day except for Payroll Tuesday. These reports also go out to Luminist. I know that Luminist is not the best way to access stuff, but the reports are out there if you can't get to the warehouse or if you can't get to HRCMS. If you can't get to both of those, you probably can't get to Luminist, but they are available there. And that has all of the results generated. Nope. It gets updated. Certain reports, which are these reports, predictive PS over-under pay time report, predictive PS time approver and proxy report, predictive PS TL exception report, all the yellow ones highlighted, get updated after each time admin run into warehouse. So they are updated every 2.5 hours, just like the reports online. And these tables are a place where you can pull down all of the information. There's no limit on the number of lines that you can see. Employee paycheck data. So we all know and love employee paycheck data. We go into Payroll for North America and Paycheck and process payroll, and that's where you can go and look at an actual mock-up of a person's paycheck. For the beginning of it starting today and going through until next Tuesday, you will only see what we call rapid pay lines. That's your standard, if you're a 37.5-hour or 40-hour employee, that's all you will see. That is so that you know at the very least what your baseline payroll is. Starting next Tuesday, so week 2, it will be updated with all of the information which was entered for self-service time and attendance this week and approved by your managers by Friday.
Question, how often is the preliminary payroll report updated in Luminist?
The preliminary payroll report? The NLS ADS or NLCM AS, whatever it is. MASDS, I'm getting to that, if that's what they're looking for. but it is updated 5 times, Tuesdays, Fridays, and Mondays. If there is no predictive paycheck visible in HRCMS, if you have an employee who you know should have a paycheck and you don't see one in there, you should go look at the HPay 11. Does everybody know the HPay 11 report? It's the error report. You should be looking at it every single day. There is a link to a job aid here, which will give you all of the possible reasons that a person would show up on the HPay 11 report, and we're moving on to HPay. So I have to say this report will include multiple employees with multiple jobs, and it does get sent to you. Unfortunately, so with this, everybody will appear on everybody's report. So if I'm at Executive Office of Technology, and I'm looking at my report, I may see somebody from HRD on my report because they also have another job. It's more likely you have a person who works at your school and they also work in a DA's office. If there are errors anywhere in that person's personnel record, they will show up on your HPay 11 report. But you can see I've highlighted it terribly. Particularly for a terminated employee, it gives you the employee and the record number, so you know if that employee is related to you. Unfortunately, we have no way to take that off of your report, but if another department is also reading their report, they'll find that error and they'll fix it, and the person will come off your report. But understand, there are actions that you take in HRCMS that have an impact in other departments, particularly if people have multiple records with the Commonwealth. So for payments and deductions, CIW has predictive tables available that update each night with the nightly batch. And these are listed here. So there's a PS paycheck, there's a PS pay deduction. PS pay garn is in there because it was in the thing that I snagged. You don't have access to it. PS pay special earnings, PS pay tax, PS TL payable time, and warehouse pay earnings, you all have access to. And that, because it's updated nightly, and not like the predictive, which is Tuesday, Friday, and Monday, if you make an action on Wednesday, you can go in and look at it on Thursday on these tables. So for reconciliation, for pre-payroll reconciliation, you have to come to a baseline. So you know, there's a biweekly comparison, and then there are exceptions to those rules. So is the employee being paid at least their base pay, their annual salary rate? Is the difference accounted for? If somebody is earning more than their base pay, is it because they had a salary increase? Is it because they have overtime? Is it because they have a reimbursement being processed? Or if they're being paid less, are they out on an unpaid leave? So those are the types of things that we should be looking for. There are exceptions, are the payments that are not included within their base. So that's, overtime, reimbursements, those things. So in order to do a reconciliation, and I'm going to try, so bear with me, a live demo of this to show you just how quickly you can do it. I used to be able to reconcile 1,000-person payroll in less than an hour, so it did not take much of my day. But you would first query all of your current active employees within your department for their comp rate. That gets you what their base is, what they are supposed to be paid. Then you can do a compare, either from their current comp rate to the predictive paycheck file, which I will show you, or the LCM predictive data, which you would get out of LCM labor history predictive tables in warehouse. Again, the predictive paycheck updates nightly, but it summarizes the earnings. So all you would see is the gross paycheck. This person is getting paid X amount of dollars. So if they're making the same as their base, you know it's okay. You just have to go check the anomalies. The LCM predictive gives you all of the earnings detail,
but only runs Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. So, you know, if you're basing your predictive reconciliation on the predictive, you won't know, you know, from Thursday, you won't know until Friday what is missing, what isn't in there. There are resource documents and SQLs available. Here's my space saver, so bear with me. And unfortunately, online, you're going to have to look at that pretty picture of that chair.
How come certain exceptions don't fall off the exception report? Seems like it's the ones that have a status of allowed, can't clear them and get them off the report.
I would have to look into why exceptions don't fall off the report. I don't have that. That's a long, safe password. Okay. So what I did is I created a database. We are talking to the Department of Systems Bureau to talk about posting this database out on our Comptroller's website. We will let you know with that if we're able to do it. We have to go through the security protocols and make sure that everything is, you know, copacetic. But I created this that basically has just the tables from the warehouse that you need in order to run a payroll predictive. And then I have 3 different queries that I set up, actually 4 queries. One is for after payroll. Okay, so first what I would do is run a payroll predictive for comp rate. I did my warehouse connection. There we go. So, a couple of seconds. And I've already actually put this all into book 2, so I don't have to bore you with a lot of the detail of cutting and pasting, but let me show you. So I then take these 3 lines, and this is all sorted by your employee ID. So you have their employee ID, their employee record, and their comp rate. So I then take this and I put it into Excel, right? Right here. Okay. So I dumped the first 3 columns, A, B, and C, into Excel. Then I go and I run a different query. This is on Friday before payroll. I run this query for payroll predictive LCM. So it's all set up. It'll ask you to put in your department. Some of you who may have multiple departments underneath you will want to define it by specific departments, so it is set up for you to do that. So I just type in the department. You don't have to use the home unit. You can if you're looking for a very specific home unit. And then there's a run number. This is the LCM run number. And so basically what it is, and this
may not work, is because I'm using last pay period, so I pre-ran this yesterday. So the run number is basically the year, and then the payroll period followed by a 1. So the pay period ends, okay? Here's my thing. But, like I said, I ran this yesterday, so it's here. I have a couple of, this is the data that is all included. Okay, so you can see it gives you the earnings detail of reg, vacation, RTO, which was one of our various snow days from last pay period. So then you take this information, you'll get it all in one line, and there will be directions for this, but basically you subtotal, and you bring things up by employee ID, the amount of hours, and the amount of time. And you can see here, this employee has 75 hours and 4692.3 as their original dollar amount. That's the sum of their original dollar amount. So I then take that and filter on to just bring up that summary line, and I take it back over to my comp rate LCM file, and I dump it into the Excel spreadsheet. And again, there are directions, and it gives you, there are a couple of different formulas that are in these cells. So like this is really just C2 minus G2. It's their comp rate minus the summary of the check, right? So I come up with a difference. It's 0.007 cents. And then I have another, if it's, plus or minus 5 cents, I don't really want to look at it. 5 cents is not huge to me. If you want to look at it, feel free. But then I can take this, and by putting an X into these fields, I can just look at the ones that have issues. And I can see here, if I explain, like, the first one, they only have 23.5 hours. That's just different based on what their base pay was. But I'm able to go and look at that. And now, rather than having to look at 136 people, I only have to look at 14 people who are not receiving their base pay. Matter of minutes. Exciting? So exciting. Okay. And then essentially, you can do the same thing with the query. Let me just pull this. So it's the same thing with the paycheck data. It's just you don't have that file behind it to go look at the earnings because it's already summarized. But again, I did the same thing using the paycheck predictive and was able to get it down to also, this is the same exact group of people. This one actually had 19 differences. But I can also look at why there were 19 differences between a gross paycheck and what was reported in the LCM predictive. It has to do with trend. There you go. Quick and easy. Go back to what?
Never mind.
Okay. Do you have any questions here about that? Tara? I thought you used up your allotment.
I did a few per person. So when we get the payroll register, after payroll runs every week, right? And when I go to look at it, if I have someone with multiple jobs, their payroll costs from that other agency end up on our report. Sometimes it's very clear to see, other times I'm going person by person to find it. I also run a query out of the warehouse to sync everything up, and most of the time they don't match, and that's when I got looking for it. So I know we're on single check right now, but if another agency is picking up the payroll cost of that person working at college or whatever it is, why are they still ending up on our payroll report?
They're showing up on your report, again, because of the lowest active paid record. Because we cannot break it down by, okay, this payment came from ES, this payment came from North Shore, this payment came from Worcester, this one. So unfortunately, we cannot break it down to that level in the report. But you can run queries which get you your information. So again, Luminous does have its kind of, restriction. Thank you, Maureen Keating. Okay, so predictive, was that it?
Yes, that's it.
One on the webcast. There's one. Does the LCM predictive data used on Monday include data entered and approved on Sunday?
I do not believe it does. I will check the schedule of that report because it may be Saturday.
Seems like it does, but I'm not sure.
Okay. I'll check the schedule. I can't remember if we changed it or not. So then as part of your reconciliation, there's also predictive funding. Maria Ehrenberg sends 5 emails, or maybe Judy Cole, depends if Maria's on vacation. Sends 5 emails per pay period telling you that you have unfunded accounts and letting you know that there's going to be an issue with your payroll. If you don't hear from Maria, you're all set. But there are also reports in Luminous, and those reports are the 5 reports listed here at the bottom, the HM Pay, and I also have the schedule of when those are updated on that. And that comes right from the best practices document. So post-payroll reconciliation, this is going to be very quick. We'll get you out of here. The payroll expenditure approval, a signatory authority or authorities certify the entire payroll based on the confirmation of managers. So that is, if you're on a paper process and you're non-self-service, your managers sign off on that timesheet saying that that's what should be entered into HRCMS, or if you're on self-service time and attendance, managers have approved whatever has been reported in HRCMS, and that is their approval of that time. And that leads into that hierarchy that Jenny was talking about, that managers have certified it, payroll then takes the word of the managers, and the department head, the CFO, then takes the word of the payroll director, and then the DHSA, the department head, takes the word of the CFO. So there's a link in the presentation which goes to the expenditure approval page, and that also has a link to the form that you all fill out and show to whomever audits you on that. There are also 2 reports in Luminous for unfunded payroll issues after payroll processes. That's the NLC FAR 4S and 5S, and there are first payroll details, so it tells you by object code what's unfunded, and then there's account details, so it tells you by account what is unfunded. Corrections need to be made as soon as possible in MARS and LCM. Record retention, departments are required to preserve payroll records for 7 years, and then we have, Luminous stores the reports for 7 years, but if you are also being notified that you have an impending audit, you should be hanging on to whatever material you provide for an audit within a year of that audit. If you've also been told that you have an upcoming audit coming your way, you should not be getting rid of stuff that you need to provide for the auditor. Yes. I mean, anything that you generate pay off of is a payroll record. Timesheet, reimbursements, anything that they would have, their GIC, those are all payroll records. Thank you.
And you can keep those electronically. So now under the records retention, am I going to speak with the microphone?
So you can keep all of the payroll records electronically. You can scan them, you can print them to PDF, and as as long as you validated that the document matches the paper copy, you don't have to keep the paper copy. So you don't have to have reams and reams of paper files. But you have to be able to connect the document with the employee, either by employee ID or by date, however you decide to keep them, but you can keep them electronically and keep them all in a folder for each individual or by date, period. So it's completely up to you. So you don't have to keep paper. The only requirement is that the electronic format is accessible, which means you can open it, usually a PDF or a scan, and that you have it backed up. So any files that you keep electronically, you need to have a backup in your network or someplace else. Sometimes you have an automatic save to a backup that automatically creates backup, has them in 2 different places. So if your server goes down or someone accidentally deletes a folder, that you have a backup of. But that should hopefully, save you from having to keep a lot of paper.
Thank you. All right, so on this next section, because we have a payroll user group meeting June 6th, I'm just going to highlight the very first thing, which is if you're going to change your child accounts, new bunch of bureaus or units or what have you, you should be thinking about that now because it needs to be in place before Mars opens up for the new fiscal year. So that's an activity that occurs now. And the other activity that occurs between now and our next meeting is the rules roll. So if you do, some fancy labor distribution that crosses accounts, they all expired June 30th. We do roll them forward to have them reauthorized for fiscal year 19. So that will save that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. All right, before I get to the reminders. So one of the things, we did focus a lot today on compliance, our collective responsibilities, and some tips and tricks of how to catch things. One of the things that we have noticed that does not add value, it just creates additional work that has no value to it, is secondary approval of overtime. So if you don't know what it is, you don't have to listen. But if you do know what it is, I'm an employee, I entered my time. My supervisors approved the time. Payroll is doing their reconciliation of the whole payroll, regardless if it's overtime or anything else. And then I have to take one more step and go out there and do a secondary approval, which is a task. It does not do anything other than, create more potentials of errors. What I mean by that is people who should have been paid don't get paid because, as you know, on Payroll Monday, you're chasing those supervisors to make sure that they approve the time. A process has to run to create this payable time, and then you have to go out and do another transaction just to do that. We found that did not do what we had hoped to do, and that's why we're really focusing on the front end. Make sure that we get the reconciliation done and more tips and tricks on doing that. The secondary approval has not worked. It has changed the focus of the payroll people doing it to something that is a rote activity versus a analytical activity. So May 29th, we will stop doing secondary approvals. April 29th. You sure? April 29th. I would have waited to May, but Tryntje told me April.
Your box.
April. Alrighty, but I just wanted to put that in context. There are other codes that will still require secondary approval because it's like military leave. That takes a little bit more. We need a speed bump on that because that's an area where people can put in the wrong code versus overtime, which is generated by the system. Alrighty. April 29th, thanks, Tryntje. I knew I should have done a slide. Any other questions on any other topic? We fed you. I don't know why you all want to go to lunch. All right, go once, going twice. Thank you, everybody. See you in June.